All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. We have Joseph Meadows in the building. I hope I didn't pronounce that wrong. Probably
It's
Meadows.
all right. It's Meadows. Some people drop the S. I've been Meadows before. I've been in plenty of other things. It's all right.
All right, so yeah, he's an ex-mover in the industry as well as an entertainer now. Oh man, tell you, the moving industry starts you somewhere and then you end up a whole nother place. Um,
Absolutely.
so Joseph, tell everybody about yourself.
Um, well, as you said, my name's Joseph Meadows. I'm originally from Atlanta. I stay out in Clarksville now, of all places, Clarksville, Tennessee, uh, which apparently everyone's starting to know, and I'm so sorry. I'm gonna preface that right now with I'm so sorry. And yes, the stories are true. Gary the Guardrail is a real thing. Crazy Kenny is a real thing. Rhonda the Roundabout did make national news. Yes, it is a real thing. Now that we've gotten that out the way, um, I'm the co-owner and co-founder of the Lightning Studio and Entertainment Group, as well as TG, the Grand Experiment. TG, we primarily deal with artists and brands, anything from management to development. That can be anything from developing an artist and their talent, developing their brand, developing their stage presence, their that PR training, and then primarily what I focus on is our studio and entertainment group. And right now we have a network of studios from Memphis to Knoxville out in the Sun Sphere. We have a great partnership with the Arc out in Hopkinsville with a really cool cat, a Grammy-nominated cat, Richard Ace High. I love Rich. He's a dope cat. And then obviously we have our Atlanta studio because I had to come back home. Um, I originally started uh, really in business in a lot of social media and marketing. And then when I was younger, I ended up in, of all places, Winchester, Virginia. And that's where I got my start really into the moving industry. I'd done moving things before. I was a military brat briefly, so I was used to moving. I was used to the process, but doing it professionally, my first time was out in Link. And I went, I want to say a good 2.5 years. I worked with one company before that didn't work out, and then I ended up with a company called B&H Elite Movers, and they ended up relocating to West Virginia to Follinsby. And I was with them all the way through to the end of my career in the moving industry. And I made it all the way to a regional supervisor, and we were managing at any given point in time anything from 5 to 25 crews all over the DMV area, which was a great experience. It taught me a lot about management. I actually got into the moving industry because I came to Winchester with my ex-wife. We were young, very early 20s. Um, and in about a week of coming there, we were supposed to go there to her dad's. Her and her dad hadn't talked to each other like 15 years. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. We became homeless. And then in about a week or two of being homeless, I ran into this random guy and he looked at me. He was like, "Yo, you're big." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You know how to move stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been moving my whole life." And believe it or not, the moving industry was the first place that I had ever been paid anything over about 15. I started out at 20 with the first company I was with, and that was a game changer. And if you know, like I know you know, and I'm sure some of our viewers know, there are different levels in the moving industry. You know, you got stuff where you're getting paid cash every day. It might be under the table. You to bigger corporate things and everything in between. And that original situation was a cash daily under the table type deal. And so it really hooked me because it was like, oh wait, there's real money into this. I had only worked like one or two moving gigs previously. Dude paid like 10, 15 an hour. It was just extra money. And so this was the first time that I got to see that there was real money in the moving industry. Um, and then I went from there to Follins to the company out in Follinsby, where I ended up starting at 25. I left there at 35 an hour. Um, And that kind of that, like I said, that was the first time in my life. A little more background about me. I'm not a college guy. Uh, I'm not even a high school graduate. I got my GED. Same year I should have graduated, but I ended up taking a different route. I got my GED. So up to that point, being a young kid from a low income background, I was used to hustling and doing other things, and that's where I saw real money. I knew you could get a steady paycheck. I'd worked at places like Sam's Club and Walmart before, but that was the first time that I had ever seen with my own eyes without a degree or anything. I apologize to everybody if I keep touching my ears. It's because I can't find the right size ear muffs for these headphones, and if I talk too much, they'll fall out. So uh, it was the first time that I saw that you could actually make sustainable money, and this wasn't COVID economy. I first got into the moving industry in 2018. So $25, $35 actually went a long way. The dollar actually meant something. I know that that sounds like just at living wage now in comparison in some places, but at that point in time, that was a lot of money. That was real money. That was sustainable. That got me and my ex-wife out of homelessness almost instantly. I was able to get a car. Um, and so that's where I fell in love with it. And even though I've left the moving industry, I still take a lot of things that I've learned from the moving industry and I apply it to my new businesses now. Um, I'm very appreciative of my experience there. I think that working my way through a system like that taught me a lot about not only how business works, but how the game of business works, how the whole corporate ladder structure works. Because I went from, doing something under the table, still making substantial money, and then moving forward. And now I ended up doing something a lot of movers don't even realize is possible. And I went corporate in the moving industry. I'm a lead by example type of person. I'm one of those generals that I'm not sending anybody to war unless I'm in the front lines with them. So I was a regional supervisor that was still going on jobs. I was still moving with my guys. If there was a problem, as long as I was close enough to handle it, I would still go. And that was one thing that the moving industry really taught me, and the ability to work through that structure really taught me is that one, a lot of the barricades that people say are there for success aren't really there. You just have to be willing to look at alternate routes. And it gave me uh, a practical understanding of leadership at every level as I worked my way through to regional supervisor.
Need a last-minute fill-in or facing an unexpected injury among your moving staff? No worries, Moving Force has you covered. Our app instantly connects you with trusted, professional movers who are ready to step in and handle urgent jobs whenever you need them. With our reliable network of vetted experts, you'll never be left short-handed. What are you waiting for? Download the app now and sign up for free now. Your stress-free move is just a tap away.
Um, I still carry that on. After that, I would leave and go have a job for a conglomerate out in Indianapolis as the director of marketing and advertising, as well as the vice president. And the same lessons I learned in leadership in the moving industry, and including things like how to not be a toxic leader, how to do a lot of self-examination, because let's be honest, especially in the moving industry, it's a male-dominated field, and a lot of us come from low income or middle income backgrounds, rough backgrounds. There's a fair chunk of us, I've met so many moving guys who started like me. It was a job that fit an end. They didn't think it would become anything. Now they're 5, 10, 15 years deep. They may have their own companies, their own trucks and things like that. And it gave us an opportunity, but it really taught me a lot about how to lead and how to scale, because part of what I did at
Not to
B&H
get out.
was helping us scale
Oh,
to the point that a regional supervisor was even necessary. Um, and so that's my background in the moving industry, and I wanted to give that just because I understand that this is a moving primary podcast. I know they might look at you like, why is the entertainment guy here? But it's because I started there. A lot of the lessons that I apply here started in moving. A lot of my real world experience and understanding of what money was as someone who is not I guess, highly educated, as some would say, or at least not in the traditional sense. Um, I
Yeah.
learned there, and I really appreciate this industry for what it is and what it can be.
Yeah. No, we appreciate that. Thank you for that feedback, that story about, your upbringing, because the movie industry starts a lot of people, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, it's like the start for a lot of people, and you hit it right on the nose with um a lot of people that aren't in a very good financial spot is, this is like their first stopping ground or so like that once, because it's like, hey, you already know how to lift. It's a male dominated industry. There are some really great, powerful women leader in the industry, so never to take anything away
Absolutely.
from them. Um, but you post anything about how your success is, and I just seen this in one of the labor groups. You post anything about how your success is, and you'll get so many comments from males just busting on you like, oh, that's garbage, or that's, this. And again, you got to realize when it comes to stuff like that, and you like, let's just say you're starting out in the industry, and I don't want to discourage anybody, but know what community you're in. On Facebook.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's a good way to say it. Do your research. What does that one cat say? Now do your homework. All right. You're over
Uh-huh.
whooping. All right. Do your homework. Now, if you want to be in this industry, and I'm not, I think you would agree that I'm not saying that the culture doesn't need to change in some ways, but just like any level of change, if it's too rapid, it ain't gonna be good. And anything like this where it's kind of tried and true methods is a tried and true thing. Moving at its base is simple as far as the moving industry goes. It's a logistics game. You're getting things safely from point A to point B, loaded and unloaded. Those types of things where they don't have a lot of industry push to change are even slower to change.
Last minute crisis? We've got you covered. When your moving staff is short, Moving Force steps in. Instantly connect with a network of trusted movers ready to handle the job. Fast sign-ups, trusted network, reliable solutions. Don't let last minute issues slow you down. Help is just a tap away. Download the app and sign up for free today.
So I'm not saying that the issues, with it being a male dominated field with males from similar backgrounds to myself doesn't need to change because I 100% agree it does. But also understand that that's a slow process. That's something that's probably going to come more from society and more from us internally amongst each other, the veterans in the industry, speaking and leading that charge. You as a new guy is not going to come in here changing the system. I hate to break it to you. I'm not telling people not to come here. I'm not telling you to give up your dreams of making a change. Just understand that if you come in here with your nose up high, trying to lay down morals and edicts to guys who've been through it or are just here surviving, it's probably not going to end well.
Yeah. And I seen like I was going with, I was seeing a person who posted, like maybe their first job. And I don't think I posted my first job on Facebook. I don't even
I
know where
know,
I
I
was
know, I
around
didn't.
the time.
Oh no, I definitely didn't.
So my first job was a little torturous, if you ask me. I was on moving help, so I got my first job on moving help. It was after I did my 9 to 5 because we were working at night until the volume picked up. So
Yeah,
they were like, so I had to meet the customer probably around like 6 o'clock, and I think we got done maybe like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I was tired. I was tired as hell. And this guy, he had the weirdest stairwell, had so much stuff. Stuff wasn't packed. I didn't know how to load up a truck at the time because I never done moving before.
yeah.
I just said, you know what? He got a 16-foot truck. We got to get everything in there. And no matter how we do it, we
It
got
got in there. But look, let's be honest though. The how to pack a truck is really an art form. Like people say it's Tetris, but it is like 4D Tetris. All right, this is not that simple. You think, oh, it's just boxes. It's boxes, and then that weird shape elliptical, and that weird $1,300 lamp that they got that they know damn well, and they don't want rap to take it apart. It's weird stuff like that. So I mean, I don't unless you're just a guy with some super strong spatial IQ. I don't think anybody's first truck really was pretty.
Yeah, so we managed to get everything. That sofa was the heaviest of them all, though. I swear it was a sleeper sofa. Um, and
Man, I got a question. Did y'all ever so at B&H, right? Um, the things that we moved anything, but we specialized in these two things. It's the two oddest things in the world, but it's the DMV area, so it starts to make a little sense. At least one of them does. So it was grand pianos and gun safes. We were the guys that you called for a grand piano or a gun safe. And I've met a lot of other movers who have different specialties. Like some of them work in like the food industry, and they move, food equipment, commercial food equipment and stuff. So did you guys, or do you have a specialty now, or did y'all ever pick a specialty, or y'all just moving everything?
we were moving everything. We thought about the specialty, but then I thought about my guy. I looked at my guys, and I'm like, do I want to specialize in pianos? We, do I want to go down that rabbit hole? These guys already talking about, damn, they got a lot of stuff. This stuff is heavy,
Hmm.
and we moved a lot of upright pianos, and those really get you in good shape.
Yeah.
It's just the organs that end up tricking you.
Yo, we had a church organ one time, and I guess it was donated to a school. And so we had to go move it from the church, from the old church to this it's like this middle high to the junior high. I'm from the South. We didn't really I didn't grow up with junior high like that. You got elementary, middle, and regular high school. So it was like a junior high, like that weird middle ground high school thing.
Mhm.
Man, I hated every minute of it, brother. I hated every single minute of it. I think it was like my second weekend, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if this moving shit is for me. Ugh. And then I got that money from that job, plus that tip, and I was like, you know what? I think I can keep moving some pianos, feel my shoulders.
Hey everybody, my name is Dwight Mack with Mack's Moving Training. So we're gonna be doing a move and a pack today. But before we go in, there's just 10 basic rules that we just need to know before participating with this service. So number one, understand moving is a very, very stressful thing. The customer, they're uplifting their life from one location to another. They're having to call all these vendors and get all these suppliers in place so that basically they can make that transition. So their stress level is at the highest right now. We need to be a service provider that comes in and basically keep that stress level mitigated or very low. Come in as professionals and do our job the way we know how to do our job so that this customer is less stress during that move process. Number two, be on time. First impression is everything. You guys showing up outside of the window rubs the customer the wrong way. It messes up the rest of the move process. Even if you guys do the best job y'all can do, because one thing was off, this customer's mood is just off. Go up and beyond, be there before the time, as long as they're okay with it.
Sure. I think after that first job I did, moving job I did, I went home, took a bubble bath, and I was pondering, is this for me? I was like,
No, for sure. Look, look, man,
no.
if you don't at least, I feel like at least once a month, once a week, something like that, have a move where you're questioning whether you still want to do this. Not even because it's so terrible, just because it's like, damn, this is you looking at the weight. Like once you get in long enough, you start calculating the weight off top. You start walking in somewhere and being like, oh, yeah, it's like 800 pounds right there. That's like a good 2, 3 man, 4 man, maybe, If you don't have some jobs where it's like, I don't know, I want to keep doing this, you probably ain't really moving no real freight. That's
Yeah,
the honest to God truth.
I think one of my jobs, beginning job, so I end up me being want to be Mr. Cool Guy, decided to wear boots on a job one day. And I was like, yeah, I seen my boy. He wear boots all the time. He must be good. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wear boots. Yeah, that was my luck. So the customer, the customer had like over 50 wine boxes of stuff packed. Like make you mad, wine boxes. Why would you pack stuff in wine boxes? So so you have 50, about 50 of those, 50 plus. The stairs were windy, so you couldn't stack on a dolly.
Oh yeah,
Um, and then when you come down the second floor to the first floor, you can go outside, but you had that little landing where you go down more stairs and then go to the truck. So I'm
yeah.
like, all right, I'm gonna try to bring down these boxes, put them on the first landing, have my guy run from the truck and grab them. And I don't know why, but we were small, so we couldn't do three men at that time. If I could, I would have. But so we were doing it as a two man. And then
Ooh,
so I'm carrying one or two boxes at a time because these wine boxes are heavy as hell, can't dolly them. So I'm like, all right, hey, I put them here, you come grab them. Put them here, you come grab them. After I done made, I don't know, feel like 20 trips with just those damn wine boxes, I'm like, yo, we got to get the furniture now.
woo.
And then so we end up loading up the truck. Finally, it took us like maybe 3 hours, 3 hours to load up the truck. We got the truck
Yeah.
loaded, then we had to head over to their house. They lived in one of those complexes where you could back up in the parking lot, but you have to walk the long pathway.
Oh, it's one of them.
Yeah. So you have to walk the
Yeah.
long pathway, and then basically they lived on a second and a half floor. Couldn't be second floor, second and a half. Meaning that meaning that you had to walk that long path, go up some stairs, turn around, go up like three or four stairs, and then walk a little bit further and then into their house. And there's only two of us, so you really can't be dollying everything and all sort of stuff. And I had boots on, so my feet is burning now. I'm getting tired as hell. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, I know you was regretting them boots, man. I know in your soul you was regretting them boots.
I
I
was.
think I came through, what was it? I think it was, I left for a little spell and came back after the company had moved. And I had some cowboy boots, and I thought, like I've done a lot in cowboy boots. I'm from Atlanta, but my grandfather's back in Georgia. If you know anything about Middle Georgia, it's country as hell. So I was like, all right, cool. I done did this. I can do this. I was not Superman. I thought I was Superman. I thought I was Clark Kent. Clark
Yeah.
Kent and Supernatural when he gave up his powers. That was
Hmm.
me right then and there. I was strong enough to get the job done, but homie, I was not that strong. I don't think I wore another pair of boots that day. I didn't care if it was raining, if it was muddy. Hey, bro, that just come with a job. I wasn't doing it. My boss though, man, this is a short guy for the longest with B&H. It was him and his wife, and then they had trouble getting like reliable helpers. So it was him and his wife, and then me and him, and we were out moving. And so he was tearing it up. All right, big old chunky, heavy steel toes. I know for a fact that they had to be like 5, 10 pounds a piece. All right, soles like this thick. And Ben, he's like a Ben with a tall cat. He was like maybe 5'7", 5'8". And this little garden gnome was just trolling along happy, just smiling. What's going on, Joe? What's going on is the fact that I'm over here dying and you're acting like you in some Nike runners or something. Like you got Air Maxes on or something. You got brand new Air Maxes. The bubble ain't even been squished or nothing. What is happening? Bro, this is crazy. I
What
done
was
worked a few jobs, man, that were just a little wild.
as a supervisor, what was one of your biggest pet peeves that you've seen on a job?
My biggest thing as a supervisor, I had three things. One, because of what we specialized in, was safety. Even if we had to do something stupid, which I've worked with a lot of people in a lot of places, like a lot of different clients, and they would request us to do, like they would sign waivers just for us to get some shit done. But even if we're doing something stupid, do it safely. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's like, look, if you there's a reason that no one wants to fall. There's a reason that there's stunt actors and stuff who are trained how to fall safely. if you got to do something stupid, always put your safety first because you may not get hurt. But for what we specialized in, if we're taking a gun safe down some stairs, and the communication isn't there, and I count communication in safety, then that could be that guy's life, his career, his anything. You know what I'm saying? Now you done put someone who's probably got kids, old lady, whatever, what have you, bills, all that, just like you, out of work simply because you weren't paying attention and you weren't communicating and putting safety first. Another one for me was, this is a big one I see in the industry, especially with smaller guys. And I say small and medium guys, because when you're really small, at first everybody's really on this, and when you're really big to a degree, people stress it. Professionalism. Professionalism. Yes, we're there to be movers. Yes, that puts us in the blue collar sphere. That means that we do have a certain bit of room to breathe, like grace that's given. You know, nobody expects their movers for real unless they're one of them. And you know what I'm talking about. Nobody expects their movers to come in, shirts tucked, polos, big belts on, super clean cut. Nah, man, you don't even really want the movers, okay? You want the guy with the 5 o'clock shadow that looks like he's still trying to get up and question his life, all right? He's been doing this. The moment that something touches his hand, he's going to move like a robot and get it done, bro, professionally. But, man, know, like we were talking about earlier, know what industry you're getting into. Know that you're going to be dealing with different types of people. I've dealt with business owners that are like complete shut-ins. One cat, his wife ain't even from here, all right? He went and got him a Vietnamese wife. He had enough money that he bought him a house on a hill out in Virginia. His driveway was like this, bro. The truck started to roll back. Mm. When they built his house, they had to helicopter everything in to build his house to the top. I've worked with senators. I have moved several senators, several congressmen, state and federal, you know what I'm saying, into and from, because we also worked in DC a lot.
Number 3, make sure your team is in uniform, they're groomed, their hygiene is checked, you know, because that's the worst thing you could do, especially going in a house. Customer could smell your guy from a mile away, and now, again, their mood is just thrown off. So make sure that you guys are in uniform, you're tight, you know, you have uniform shirts, you know, it doesn't look like, you know, you have a laborer that's, you know, hired from off the street. Presentation is everything that goes towards your first impression. Number 4, introduce both you and your partner when greeting a customer. Don't just go to the door by yourself, you know, while your driver is unloading the truck, and introduce yourself. Actually have both of you there. Introduce yourself first, then introduce your partner second, and then, you know, allow them to welcome you into their home.
Read a room, be professional. You know, some clients will let you get away with a little bit more, but look, man, the same client that's sitting there joking with you, cursing with you, using all sorts of extra profanities, you know, or for the sake of keeping it, you know, kosher for the podcast, using a whole bunch of what some people would consider racial slurs, regardless of the ethnicity, right? Might be the same person that goes and reports you to your higher up or goes and leaves you a bad review. And they were just sitting there joking with you. They were just sitting there talking with you. You know what I'm saying? The whole time, keeping everything copacetic. You're still at a job, no matter how comfortable you are. Mm-hmm. That's it, point blank, period. At the end of the day, it's still a job. You have to treat it as such. And then for a lot of movers, this isn't just a job, even if it's just you and your brother, just doing moving help or something. This is a business. Mm-hmm. You are conducting business. So operate as such. That's 1 and 2. So safety and communication, professionalism, and this one isn't necessarily for my movers, for all my support staff. You know, there's some moving companies that are big enough, or even small. They might have their wife answering the phones, or they got an office staff. Please actually ask the questions. I hate to say that the customer isn't always right, and I know that some of y'all may be listening and may be customers yourself. Some of y'all ain't right, man. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. Okay, some people are in positions where there might be negotiating, might be limited on funds, but I'm not gonna come move a 3-4 bedroom house on a 10-foot truck or something because you said that you got it and you know what's going on, or we're walking into a situation where stuff isn't packed or it's being packed as we're there, and they're either expecting us to help them pack, which ain't our job, it ain't a service for us in particular at that time, um, or it's just altogether just excuse my French, a shit show. And it's because if you have an intake system in place, whether it's you or someone you hire or your lady or whoever, right? Get the information. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, y'all. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
The
no, you
last
ain't
thing
never
you want to
lied.
do is the last thing you want to do is do a bad job, not even because you don't have the ability to do a good job, but simply because you came unprepared. I'd rather be over prepared in every situation. I'd rather have 3, 4 dollies I don't even need, wrap I don't even need, blankets I don't even need, than to come there and have nothing.
Mhm. So it's just like when you cube it out, for those that's tuning in, it's like when you cube it out and you get the cubic feet and you realize that only, what is it? Six, maybe, I'm just going to take a guess because right now I can't think. But
Yeah.
let's just say that you got about 4,000 cubic feet or whatever the case is, and you already know that that's approximately, let's just say 9,000 pounds or maybe way more than
Mhm.
9,000. But you have that amount of cubic feet and you're like, oh, well, you already know that that exceeds how much you can have in the truck. So now you're like, oh, well, they just said that they're right on the cusp. They have just enough for like, it could be two trucks, it could be one truck. So you like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna bring one truck. And now maybe you got to make two trips. It's better that you bring, in that case, quote them two trucks. So that one, when you bring that second truck, you guys don't have to stack the truck so full, so high. You can kind of level it off, making it easier for the unloaders, and then
Yeah,
basically put the rest in the second truck. And now, hey, if that customer did lie and it did went over the cusp of exactly what they had, and it's been more pounds, more cubic feet, you have that space, that leniency. Because
absolutely.
yeah, customers don't want you to make two trips,
Yeah,
so
no, especially once we get into cubics, nah, man, once you get into those types of sizes, man, they want this to be a one and done, you know?
mhm. Oh, we told you guys all about it. We told you we had this, we had that, blah, 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 blah. Well, y'all didn't come prepared, etc. So it's like, hey, you know what? We're gonna bring two trucks. If we don't need the full second truck, we're gonna just stretch everything out.
Yeah.
Um, and we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna, so one time this one customer said, oh, we weren't charging by the truck per hour. Like this was when we were charging a flat rate fee for trucks.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, and we was like, oh, well, you're gonna pay us $150 whether we bring a 26-foot truck or we bring a 10-foot truck. That's your preference or what you have. We just gonna charge you that one fee because we're not gonna charge it based on what truck we brought.
Yeah.
And it just maintains consistency. Because what if we can't get a 10-foot truck that day and we charge you for a 10-foot truck rate? So now we losing a lot of money. We're already losing money.
Hmm.
So we're going to charge you the flat fee. So we brought a 10-foot truck. Customers like, I gotta pay 150 for that. It's only 19.99 for the day because we had U-Hauls.
Yeah.
And and I'm like, well, you could have got your own truck if you was going to complain about the price. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh well, I couldn't drive it. Well, then why were you complaining? It's just it's one of those situations where you get customers who complain that aren't able to do stuff. So such,
Yeah.
oh well, you guys could be moving a whole lot faster. If I was doing this, the job would have probably been done by now. So, sir, why'd you hire us if you can do it a lot faster? Well, I'm 60 years old. Then why are we having this conversation?
You know, it's crazy because it's like it's a lot of times it's the clients with the least ability to do your job that'll sit here and try to tell you about your job. Like, sir, when is the last time that you moved? 1983? Uh, this is not. This is like a good 30, 40 years worth of extra shit than what you told me was in here. And here I am moving it with a smile on my face. So I'm gonna need you to lay off my back. Which
Mhm.
shout out to all the good clients, man. You don't have to, and I know that every client's in a different situation. You know, some people might move because of evictions or whatever, but to the clients that can and do, get lunch for the crew. Just make sure we got waters. I still say, hey, yo, anyone who's running a crew or running a company, that's on you. Take care of your guys. Make sure your
Mhm.
guys are good. But to those clients who care and respect what we're doing and actually see like, hey, yo, these guys is putting in work. These guys is really putting in effort. I promise you, we all appreciate you. We really do. I've been so happy, bro, on jobs. I didn't even get a tip. They just brought me some cold water. They had that cold water. Hey, the cold water's in the fridge. The fridge is staying anyway, so y'all can go in and out of it whenever you need it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you was in a good spot. We had one customer who gave our guys faucet water and complained they gave him faucet water. I had to give you guys water.
No, man, I had one client one time, and my boss, we ended up becoming like best friends, and it was crazy. We had one customer one time, right? They ordered hella food. Now they had some people. We got to the job. Everything's already supposed to be packed. Only a quarter of the house is packed. This is a 5 bedroom. So you already know now we done already had to hit them with the time. The time quote's going up. Like, hey, I gotta let you know this ain't getting done in this time frame because we quoted
Mhm.
you at this time frame under the understanding that all this was packed up. We're probably gonna pack this faster than you can, pack this truck faster than you can pack up all this stuff. And depending on what all is getting packed, you may get to a point where you just gotta wait. You know what I'm saying? You pack to where because if you pack and you know how to pack, you've learned how to pack, you got to place certain things a certain way. You got weight distribution and other things to worry about. You got weight. You want to make sure that your weight's evenly distributed, not just dealing with the truck stuff, but also like among boxes and stuff. Obvious, don't put nothing heavy at the top of some shit. But if all you got is light stuff and all the heavy stuff is being packed, it's probably in your best interest to either create a few walls, pockets, or just wait. Like to explain to the client, like, yo, I don't want to damage your stuff. But I guess they were upset because I think we quoted them at like 3 hours load in, and we looked at them and was like, this is gonna be like a 5, 6 hour job because it's older folk, and we cut them a deal on the price and everything, but they ordered. I'm talking about hella food. It was maybe 6 of them. These folks ordered a pizza a person, sodas, salads. It was, got the cookie, like the big cookie cakes and shit, and stopped and ate it in front of us, just looking at us like.
Mm.
And then when we stopped and said we was going to go to lunch, they looked at us like we were crazy.
Yeah, I thought
Like,
they
what
bought the
about
lunch for you originally, but then you switched it up.
like? No, they look because they ate on their own. I guess they were mad at the time. The time quote being incorrect. Yeah, no, they looked at us like we were crazy. They was trying to rush us. We got to the pizza spot, and I think it was no more than 5 minutes after we ordered. Clients call them because they finished their food. So I guess since I mean, we worked through most of them eating. You know what I'm saying? So I guess since they finished their food, they expected us to go grab something, be back. I did most of my time in the moving industry through the summer. When I started, it was at the fucking top of Virginia summer. No, dog, I'm gonna go somewhere with AC. Even if I only sit down for 30 minutes, I'm gonna cherish them 30 minutes. That's just what's happening here. I don't know what to tell you, especially if it's like you y'all ordered all this food. We came back, bro. Half the food was still there. It was way too much food for all these people. I know it was. Half these people got high cholesterol. You can tell. I'm like, you shouldn't even be eating this anyway, homie.
Yeah.
The doctor's finna hate you. You ain't young and spry no more. Why are we doing this? You
Yeah.
you sit here hurting yourself to be petty, but yeah, no, it's a toss up. I feel like everybody. That's another thing you should expect in the industry is that everything's a toss up. You might have the best customer, you might have the worst customer, you might have a guy who's just there, doing what he needs to do. There's nothing special about it. But that's where that professionalism comes in. Because no matter what's going on with the customer, you got to be professional. And I feel like if you get to a point with a customer, because I've had a few customers get a little wild, I'd rather give you your money or at least cut the rest of the rate or whatever and stop wherever I'm at than get to a point where I'm risking my brand and my image and my company's image. Because you're building a company, you start getting employees. This is bigger than you. You're feeding people, you're taking care of people's families. This is way bigger than you. I would rather just stop it now and go get us some more money than do something that would really potentially damage our brand. And as the kids say, crash out. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because I let something go too far. You look, y'all all have the power to back out of a job. I'm not saying abuse that, but just because you took a job does not mean you have to take abuse.
So
And it's a
yeah,
toss up, man. Some
I was gonna
some
say,
some clients will treat you like a person, and some clients are like you're a mover. So I guess that somehow makes you less worthy of respect because you're moving their valuables. Like that's a smart thing to do with the guys moving your valuables.
yeah. So yeah, like he mentioned, backing out the job don't like if you need to, you need to. Like I moved to Florida and I had a location in New York, and it was what was it? Negative. It was like it felt like -3, but it was like 7 degrees or 6 degrees outside, and the trucks wouldn't start. Now, normally our trucks start. It might be give you a little issue because the gel freezing up.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll start. And that day it just wasn't happening. And I'm in beautiful sunny Florida, running a location out there. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh, we got to make things happen because I'm shimmy shaking out here and everything. But I'm thinking like
Yeah.
that there, they got jackets on. So there's like, yeah, the truck won't start. I've been trying it. It's freezing out there. We not gonna make these jobs happen. So I'm like, there's like, we're gonna need you to call the customer and let the customer know because the operation manager wasn't around that time. So I was like, all right, sure. So I call the customer, tell them, I gotta be out by today. Lady, do you know how cold it is? Like, if the trucks don't start, we can, relocate you to tomorrow when it'll be a little less cold.
Yeah.
And but in upstate New York, when people gotta move, they gotta move, and they don't care the weather. They just
Oh
try to move like
man,
it's a
you said
normal day.
upstate? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My ex-wife is she's from Rochester.
And it gets cold.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Like,
gets frigid. I call everything like my wife, my current wife, she's from Fort Wayne. I call everything north of a certain point the tundra. It's just the tundra. Like that's just what it is. I know from like really the beginning of October, we being honest, to like March, it's frozen. It's done for. It
yeah,
is what it is.
you still gotta climb over those. You still gotta climb over those high mountains of snow. And again, these customers don't care. Sometimes they'll give you, hot chocolate or coffee. Sometimes, but you gotta move the way you move. And we've been out there for like 11 hours on end. Some days where I'm not gonna say 11, but we've been out there for like at least 8, 9 hours. And it's so cold. And when that sun goes down, it is a wrap, like you got
That brings up a question I got for you. I know you're supposed to be the question guy here, but I got something for you.
okay.
Man, what was your average length of the job? Because I feel like that's the thing when we talk to viewers, it's something that they don't think about when they think about entering the industry. Not average length of a job, but average length of like a work day. Because some people come in here, and I've seen it happen where they come in and they think this is going to be like a 9 to 5, 8 hour. And I know some companies work like that,
Mhm.
but I personally can tell you we did 16 hours if you include our drive time regularly, but that was also because we were servicing DMV. So I might go from somewhere in Virginia all the way to Baltimore. And you count the drive time in there. By the time I'm getting home, I'm at 16, 18 hours from when I woke up and left to then. So what are you looking for? like as far as what your average work days look like. You know, some people get that 8. I know like corporate people like college hunks. I worked with them very briefly, and they 8-hour schedule it. That's
Hmm.
their thing. They treat it like a 9 to 5. You come in the morning, and unless a job goes over, they try to schedule out the job so that you're done in that time frame. If that means you only did one job, you only did one job, but you get paid hourly, bro.
Yeah. So it again, like similar to them, we were very similar. So, but if I was on a job, we gonna get it done. I'm not trying to see you tomorrow. Uh, but if I wasn't on a job, then I had to talk to my team and tell my manager team and management team, hey, we need to schedule this accordingly. Like we need to if it looked like it's gonna be over 8 hours or anything like that, we need to do 6 hours today and 4 hours tomorrow. So let's just focus on a load
Yeah,
up today and unload tomorrow. Um, but again, I've been out there from 9 a.m. to sometimes at 11 p.m. at night. And but my energy level is different, I like to think. I like to work until a job is done. I won't like it got so bad to the point where I don't even like to eat until I know things are done.
yeah. You got like we had like me and Ben, we had a we kind of had like hallmarks. Like we would look at each other, we look around and be like, all right, because I feel like when you especially when you first start and you're working in tighter groups, y'all get a good synergy going, you know. So he and I would go in there. We kind of just knew how to how this was going to go, and we kind of decide like, all right, we know that this piece is probably going to go in around the middle of the truck. So this is going to be our stopping point. Like as long as we make the middle of the truck by this time, we can go ahead and take that lunch because we've hit that kind of that benchmark. And that's kind of how we did it. We try to go around every space. And, every job is different, but we kind of look like, all right, we got to load up this truck, this many cubic or whatever. Uh, you once you start really getting in there, especially with bigger pieces and bigger houses, you're like, yeah, this is probably gonna go here in the middle or somewhere near the end. Once we get to this piece, I know shortly thereafter we're gonna go ahead and take a little break.
Mhm. Now, the crazy part is I was dealing with this mansion house before, and I felt like we had to have 2 or 3 trucks. I think it was like 2 trucks there, but we really should have had three. Um, and the guy, like the top floor was so packed, so many rooms, so many mahogany furniture, like really packed. And my biggest thing was, hey, let's stage everything on the ground level, do what we got to do, get it to the truck.
Yeah,
And we're sitting here trying to run everything downstairs, and it's taking so long. Like we got so many people, but you got to worry about these beautiful walls and everything like that. And like,
yeah,
so now it's going on. We got there around like 9 o'clock. It's going on 1 o'clock now, and I'm like, dang, we still didn't clear upstairs. All right, guys, let's try to keep clearing upstairs. But now you really don't have space on the ground level because they have so much stuff on the top level that you got to start clearing stuff on the ground level. So you don't want to touch it too many times because now it's being inefficient. And now it's like 1:30. The guy's like, "Boss, we want to go take a little break." And I'm like, "But we got so much work to do." And it was like, "Boss, you need to slow down and just eat something." Like,
yeah,
and I've always just been one of the people. I'm like, you know what? When, like you said, when we get to a certain level or a certain amount of tasks done, then maybe I'll eat or whatever the case is. But I know that if I eat and we still got all this work left, I ain't gonna want to do this when I come back.
yeah. No, it kind of once you get that flow going, man. Especially in those mansions, I'll tell you the coolest mansion job I ever did. It was a huge house. I'm talking about crazy. And to get to the master bedroom, right? It had those T stairs where like you had
Mm-hmm.
2 sets that come all the way up on one side to the landing and then it goes straight to the room.
Mm-hmm.
And his master was basically like half of the house, like half of the upstairs was his master. It was so big, dude had like a little mini aquarium, a fireplace, and like a conversation pit on like a down platform and then a raised platform where you got to the bed and the closet and all the other shit. We were trying to figure out for the longest how we were going to maneuver this huge ass. It was like I think he said it was like 150-year-old solid oak armoire. It was like 7.5 feet tall. Thing solid, right? This dude had so much money. He was trying to figure it out with us. He was, everything else. He was really cool. He was so cool. He tipped everybody. I think it was like 150 after the job was done.
Mm.
I was like, whoa, you feel me? He was a really cool cat, but it got to the point where that was the last thing. That was the last thing that had to get out the house, and we could not figure it out. And he looked at us. He said, "What do I need to sign for you guys to just slide it down the stairs?" And we looked at him. He was like, "I'm going to have stuff prepared in here anyway. I don't care. Just you can just throw some blankets down if you guys care about it. But if you want to, just slide it down and then tilt it up so that way we can." Because it was narrow. Like once it was they were pretty narrow, but once you got to that main stairway to the room, it was super narrow. And we told him, we tried to advise him against it, all that stuff. We were like, "Hey, you're gonna have to sign this waiver." And he looked at us and was like, "I don't give a shit."
Mm.
Bro, as soon as he signed that waiver, he he pulled out his little handkerchief and he waved it like one of them racing girls.
Yeah.
And he was like, "All right, y'all," he had to sit up, and we just sent that thing down the stairs. I swear to God, sent the thing down the stairs. The top of it crashed straight to the drywall. Dude just started laughing. We were horrified because even though he signed the waiver, even though he told us we could do it, as a mover, you're just sitting there like, "Oh man, this is going to be ugly.
Mhm.
Not going to get this client again." Even if you like ding the wall, you know what I'm saying? You're like, "Ah, shit." Man, he told us the full sim that was literally by far the coolest day I ever had as a mover. And I've done plenty of other stuff as a mover. I didn't move some stars. I did a lot of stuff as a mover. But the fact that he was like, "Look, I just want to get it done." And so if we could just send it down there so you guys don't have to worry about how you're gonna hold it or move it or none of that. Just tilt it over, send it down. I'll send my guys to patch up the wall. Let's just get it down there.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
sure.
I
Sure.
hear
You
that.
sure? You sure? Okay, you sure? I think we spent like 30 minutes trying to talk to him and make sure, like, you
Yeah.
know what you're asking us to do, right? Once you sign this waiver, we are no longer legally responsible. That's right. And you understand this is not our fault no more. He's like, "Yeah, I don't care.
Mm.
I wish I had enough money not to care about no 107
Yeah.
year old war and in my man
Shoot, we had that. It was weird. We had a
wall.
situation. We had a situation
Be
where
like, "Yeah,
it was weird. We had a situation where we had a double dresser, and like you said, they had the customer trying to come down the stairs. They had a L-shaped turn. Either you go into the kitchen
ooh,
or you go into the living room. But no matter what, the ceiling wasn't high enough for you to stand that dresser up to make that turn. So we were like, well, hey, how
yeah,
the heck did you get this in here? And they were like, oh, I think we had to bring it through the window last time. And they're on the second story. And it's brick and it's snow on the ground. It's brick kind of brick outside. So I'm like, we don't have the tools to hoist this up or hoist this down. So how are we doing it? Oh, well, we could borrow the ladder from the neighbor. He has an extended ladder. Hmm. Okay. Hmm.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then all of a sudden like they took the whole window frame out like it was like they were used to doing this. Took the whole window frame out. The window is wide open now. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to be the one going the ladder because I don't want to put my guys in a situation.
yeah,
So we tied it down, the legs down with like tie down straps. And then
yeah,
basically I was the one coming outside holding the dresser as I go down the ladder. And one guy was like kind of like had his hand on my back and stuff, so just so I don't slide down. I was like, oh yeah, that's
yeah.
just phenomenal. But we get put in those weird situations like putting furniture on top of a truck because you can't go out through the stairway and all this other stuff. But we do what we got to do. Just got to try to work as safe as possible. But I think my best job ever was one customer we moved. he moved into this new house, and his wife was like, and I thought she was playing, but she was like, "Oh, if you guys want to go for a swim, you guys can go for a swim." And I'm like, "Lady, we're here to just try to unload this stuff. I don't know if you're being
Nah,
sarcastic or not, but well, I don't think we brought swim trunks." So she was like, "No, yeah." So then later on, she was like, "I can bring some towels if you guys want to go swimming." Like she was still adamant about it.
yeah.
And I was like, she's serious. So
Hmm.
as soon as we got done with the unload, she got the towels. The husband was like, "Hey, you guys want some Wendy's? I'll go get some Wendy's for you guys." So he went and got like so many 2 for $4s, or whatever it was at the
Man.
time, 4 for $4s. And and we jumped in the pool. Like we took everything out of our pants pockets and everything. We jumped in the pool
Yeah.
with our work clothes on.
Oh man, yeah. No, y'all was living for sure. Look, all right, so the rich guy who had to have, like I said, he had to have his house pieces helicoptered up, right?
Hmm.
So like I said, he went and got a Vietnamese wife. Uh, he went overseas, was like, yeah, let's go. You know what I'm saying? That's really how he did that. Like he like those little website things where they be matchmaking you with foreign women.
Yeah.
He really did that. So man, I'm not gonna tell y'all, look, this is a professionalism thing. I was a very young mover. Do not do what I did. Bro, he made us sit down. He made his wife make us lunch. We got to the end of the job, right? He had his wife make us dinner. And then he was like, you guys got to drink these brewskis with me to celebrate a job well done. And we were like, what? And he was like, I'll throw 50 on the tips. I don't know. He's a really cool guy. Maybe he was lonely because he's very eccentric. He made all his money selling stuff on eBay and like weird stuff like that. Like he was a big reseller of a lot of vintage and historical stuff. And one of the things he really made a lot of money off of was like those old school MLB cards and stuff. So he's a
Mhm.
very eclectic, very eccentric guy. And he also had a lot of paranoia. So I don't think he had like a large friend group. I think it was just him and his wife. But he real deal paid us to sit down, drink some beer with him, have his wife cook his food and shit. And the whole experience was surreal because his house is huge. And then you get the sense. It wasn't even like it was huge on like a crazy like 20 bedroom scale. It's just the way that it was set up. It was set up and built in like the style of like an old villa overlooking everything. And so
Mhm.
when we sat down and ate, it's off the cuts, like right in front of us is like this balcony straight off. And it's basically like a cliff. Like there's nothing else. There was no houses near him 10 miles in any direction. He just got him a huge chunk of land, picked the tallest point on there, and told him bring him his house.
Mhm.
So we're just sitting there, and it was a very surreal moment of just kind of like overlooking this beautiful landscape.
Almost like
Almost like I forgot I was at work.
almost like that post in the background.
Oh yeah, no, honestly, no, literally, no, literally. But we're sitting down. I'm having this traditional Vietnamese meal. Like I couldn't tell you what it was. I just know it was fire. Everything I ate was fire. Okay, it was some of the best Asian cuisine I've had in my life. All right, it was so good. I was starting to look at my wife like, look, you might need to go to culinary school or something, figure it out, baby, because this is real. When I came home, she was looking at me. She's like, "You ready for dinner?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I ate."
Yeah.
It was just it's so crazy because I think like the next day I dealt with one of my it was the next day or a few days after I ended up dealing with one of my worst clients. Everything went to shit. I had two of my movers fighting each other. It was I'm talking about days after that beautiful experience. We had a new mover guy that my boss had just hired on. I guess it's supposed to be his friend, and we had the guy that was with me on the last job. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Mhm.
The new guy, it's a U-Haul. It was a moving help job. So the new guy has done tore a good chunk out the top of the U-Haul, not paying attention to clearances. Even though we was telling him, but he was, he was older than everybody there. So he was trying to pull the seniority. I'm older than y'all, blah, blah, blah. Until he heard the can opener sound.
Mm.
And it was like, oh, we told you. It looked like it. We knew it wouldn't. Him and the guy that was with me on the last, like on that good job, they got to fighting. And went from arguing in front of the customer, and the older guy had a real fiery temper. So then they got to fighting in front of the customer. To make matters worse, we're in a private gated like community. So you know the type of income that's there, like the type of people that are there. So now this is a terrible show. And we had just got the company shirts done. So now, before, we just in plain clothes. At least they didn't know what company it was. No, man, they got B&H all over them. They over here fighting. I'm having to get in the middle, and then we still had to finish the job. So I'm having to tell them to do separate things, and I'm having to man the truck. It was,
Yeah,
it was wild, man.
it was crazy because similar situation where we went in this building and these guys, I guess my other guys, they didn't have their uniform shirt on at this point in time in the day. So it was kind of good. And they was moving this customer into the house, but because the customer had like a bed frame, like a futon bed frame,
Oh yeah.
that wouldn't fit through the doorway, and they should have took it apart or not even moved it at all. They were like really forcing it to try to get in, and they was damaging it. And the frame, the doorway, etc. And luckily they didn't have uniform on because like the very next week I went out on a job and we had to move a customer in the same building, but he was like the next door neighbor. And he was like, yo, if y'all would have seen this like last week, there was movers in here and they were jamming this stuff in the door. They couldn't get in and they were really messing that guy. They was fucking that guy shit up. And I was
And
like,
I know you looked at your guys like,
I'm like, yo, I'm kind of glad they didn't have no uniform on that day because he didn't know.
and look, man, movers, that's another thing. I get, like we talk about, you eat, you may not want to finish a job, whatever. The worst thing you can do is just try to rush your way through it, dog. You're going to have to, I'll keep it all the way a buck with y'all, super frank, pardon my French again. You're going to have to move the same shit regardless. That's what it is. Whether you take your time and do it the right way or you mess some stuff up doing it the wrong way, you are going to have to move the same stuff regardless. But 9 times out of 10, if you're rushing it and forcing it, you're going to make mistakes you got to clean up or pay for. You may end up breaking something and still not getting it in. Now you've wasted time and it's inefficient because now you damage the customer's home, the doorway, a car, maybe even just a truck. Maybe it's not anything of the customers per se. You've risked damaging the customer stuff. It looks bad and unprofessional. And you're now wasting time because the solution of sometimes it's as simple as just taking the leg off. It's so crazy. Sometimes it's so simple as I've had to take just 2 legs off of something and then angle it in, off of like tables and stuff. It'll go back on. A lot of times the customers will put it on. That's not to even worry about putting it back on. They'll deal with it, bro. Why put yourself in a position to really mess something up, really make your company look bad, even if it's not your company that you're working for? I know a lot of times, especially in an independent industry like moving, where there's not too many industries like this where there's so many independent companies. If you really want to be honest, not counting moving stuff, trucks, equipment, stuff like that, majority of the moving industry are different series of independent guys, at different scales. It's different than a lot of industries that's all corporate and big. Majority of moving in this country, in my opinion, I ain't gonna speak like I've seen all the numbers, but I've been to all sorts of different regions here, from the Southeast, the Midwest, the Northeast. I've spoken with them. I'm in all the groups. we're all mostly independent. It's all, and if we want to keep it that way, where this moving industry can be a platform for growth and change, especially for people like there's so many people in the moving industry that are successful and stable, and they would not be given that opportunity in any other industry the way they are now. We all have to work together to just do some shit the right way, man. Just do it the right way.
Hmm.
It's going to be tiring. It's going to be difficult. If you are ever done, nobody's forcing you to move, man. Make a plan, save some money, make an exit strategy, and get out the industry.
So the one thing, I know we're at the top of the hour, but similar to what Joseph was saying is, hey, my biggest logic is with moving, you only have to see the customer one time. Unless, you got a storage or, some concept where it requires that you have to pack, move, storage, whatever. That's the only time you have
Yeah.
to see a customer multiple times. But it's usually a one and done situation. You're going to load up that day, you're going to unload that same day, and you're going to be off to the races. You may not see them for another year or
Hmm.
two. Do it right the first time. Give it your everything so that this customer you don't have to worry about seeing this customer. You done made your few $1,000s off this customer and you're done. I've done painting as well as moving during the time that I try to diversify. And
Yeah.
I estimated my painting job to be it was like 40 hours. That means I had to be at this customer house 5 times in a week
Hmm.
to get the same pay I could have got if I just did one moving job. And I was like, you know what? Why are you working so extra hard when the money's there? And I'll tell you how much I charge the customer. I charge that customer like a little over $2,000. I could have made that in one day just doing moving.
Oh, oh yeah, man, for sure. For for sure, man. And moving such a special industry because man, you could be a former drug addict, you could be a 15 million time felon. You could come from any walk of life and still find success. Most of the time, people don't even ask. Nobody cares if their mover's been to prison or their mover went to Harvard. You know what I'm saying? And it's also that same level of acceptance amongst each other in the industry. I I I very rarely cared about my guys' background checks. As long as there wasn't theft, especially like consistent theft, you got like a theft charge, especially if you was young, we're going to talk about it. We're going to lay down some ground rules. People do stupid stuff. But when I had to do background checks on people, I almost never cared. As long as it wasn't something crazy or wild, all the socially unacceptable stuff, who cares? And it is rare to be in an industry where people say, who cares? And then they're handing you 20, 30, whatever an hour, unless you got your own business and then, you're making it by the dime or, you dole yourself out. That's a beautiful thing. There's so many people like myself. I started true and proper. I may have been pretty deep in being an adult by in my early 20s. There was how to maintain a career and what a career like really truly could be in moving. There's not too many other places that I can imagine that a homeless kid from out of nowhere in that region at 20, tattoos all up and down the whole nine, could have came in making 20 an hour, getting regular work. The movement industry is one of the few industries we got some slowdown periods, but people move 24/7. It's all about your market and your region and where you can go and what abilities you have, what equipment you have. You got to continue to level up. But people are moving 24/7. There's not too many industries like this. There's not too many industries with the opportunities like this. And that's something that I feel like everyone needs to respect. Yeah, it might just be the ends to a means. It might just be a check. It might just be the thing keeping you afloat. But you don't know what this could be. I have actually worked with people now, years later, in my current profession, that I have moved years previous as a mover. Didn't even remember them. They remembered me. You don't know who you're moving. You don't know who these people are. You don't know what opportunities could come from this. This could be the start of a career in a business. This could be a launching pad that pays for your dreams. There's enough money here in moving to pay to start a business pretty quick. Moving is a scalable enough business, even if you don't really know what you're doing at first, for you to scale it and work it and then get it self-sustainable so that you can go do other things. Respect that. Respect the opportunity. I know it doesn't seem like much. I know it doesn't seem grandiose because you over here moving people shit and they probably treating you like dirt depending on the client. If you are having a bad experience with a moving company, man, go to another one. I promise you, for as many bad moving companies as there are twice as many good ones. Ran by people and started by people probably like you who said, man, I don't want to be here at this BS. But really, really take it serious. You don't know what it could be. It could be life-changing. I know for me, moving was life-changing. And even though I have not been in the industry for many moons, because I am not as young as I used to be. Man, me and Ben, bro, you know, I know you know about those black shoulder straps. It's just the shoulder and then the one black band. Bro, that's what we were moving gun safes with, bro. That's what we were moving pianos with when we first started, bro. No dollies, no nothing. Figure out a way to turn it over on that strap and get it moving. That was insane. I probably could not do that now.
No, I hear
But
you. That definitely takes a toll. But
yeah, I definitely loved it. It's for real. So you should take serious and take interest to. You know, don't scoff at it. Don't. And if you're a client, please don't treat your movers like they lower than you. Just like the trash man, we're all doing a job, and I promise you, if we all left the industry just like any other essential service, you will feel us. Promise
hear
you, you
that.
will feel us.
So, all right, y'all. So we are at the top of the hour. Thank you, Joseph, for joining us. We'll definitely have to
I
have you
appreciate you.
back. Usually it's, me and Ryan, but Ryan, he always out here traveling. So, but we'll definitely get you back on. Was there anything you want to leave before we take off for today?
I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity. I know it was a last minute call, and I just hope the conversation was good. I hope the people aren't going to flame me too much for touching my ears. I told y'all I got small ear holes and big headphones. But
Yeah.
no, I think the only thing I want to leave everyone with is no matter what you're doing, always try to do your best. And your best may not be the same every single day. Sometimes your 100% that day may have been 15, 20% of yesterday's. But always do your best so that way you can at least say you did that. Put it all on the line. You never know what can happen. But you know what does happen if you don't do your best. You know what does happen if you don't try. So the only thing you can do, the worst thing you can do in anything is fail. And failure isn't a bad thing. It can be a lesson. It can be an opportunity. It's all about your perception of how you take it. Don't let that get you down. Whatever you're going through, just know power to make a change, even when you feel powerless about it. Even if you're in a situation where you feel stuck, there's always a way. You just might have to think outside the box you're in.
All right, all right. He said it himself. So, all right, y'all. Y'all keep thriving out there, keep crushing it. And I know we're getting closer to the busy season, so keep getting everything in order. And we will see you next week. All right, y'all. Y'all take care.